What's up, YouTube? It's me, Johnny, back at it again with another video. I know it's been a few days, but I am back. And on today's show, there's been a lot of talks for a variety of a number of years about who is the strongest Jedi in all of Star Wars. I mean, everybody has their favorites. I mean, some people, may think it's unanimous, but I'm going to talk about who I believe are the seven strongest Jedi to ever live. But before I dive into today's show, please, if you enjoy this content that you're getting here, for me, like the video, subscribe to the page, hit that notification bell so anytime I put out a new video, you'll get alerted. But without further ado, let me go ahead and get started. So, the first person that makes my list today is going to be Miss Jaina Solo. Known as the Sword of the Jedi during her time, Jaina was probably the greatest Jedi during her era, not named Luke Skywalker. She was a skilled pilot, and in my opinion, probably the best pilot in her whole family line, and that's saying something considering how massive it is. I mean, that's just really impressive. Jaina also was able to use abilities like force healing, battle or force meld, and beast control, to name a few. For anybody who may not know what force meld is when you can actually merge consciousness with another force user. In Legends, she was, of course, certainly impressive, and she has some impressive feats like besting her own brother turned Sith Lord Caduceus and helping her uncle Luke Skywalker fight Abeloth, who, for anyone that's not into Star Wars or haven't, read Legends, Abeloth is one of the strongest Force beings that has ever lived. But I'll mention her later in the video. When she fights, she uses mostly Form 7 with a mix of 5 if needed in combat, and this is why she was able to eventually overwhelm her opponents. As strong as I believe Jaina to be, though, I can't put her any higher on the list than seventh. Now, let me go to number 6 on my list. And if anyone that's currently listening now has maybe listened to my The Most Powerful Sith Lords in Star Wars video before, which if you haven't, I'll actually leave the link in the description for you to go check that out. But you probably noticed that I didn't have Darth Revan on the list. And the main reason for that is because I think that he was more powerful as a Jedi. Prior to him falling to the dark side, and even after his turn back to the light, Revan was a major force. Prior to his fall to the dark side, when he, along with Malik, who also became a Sith, was key players in the war against the Mandalorians during the Battle of Duro. He was also able to defeat Mandalore in a battle, and yes, I know that name sounds really similar to Mandalorians, but I'll explain that perhaps in a later video. On a side note, this fight was how he was able to actually get his legendary helmet that we see Revan and even Darth Revan wears. After his return to the light side, Revan was able to overpower and defeat his longtime buddy in Darth Malik and several Dark Jedi in the process. He mostly used Form 4 in his battles, and he had way more force abilities, which I would, list them all, but just to name a few, he had things like telekinesis, force push, improved force strength and speed, as well as, force sense that Revan could actually use. Now, I do like Revan a lot, but I just couldn't put him any higher than here. Let's go to number 5 on my list, and my apologies because I believe butchering of this name is going to entail, but I have Shan at number 5. So if you played Star Wars The Old Republic video game, you already know that this Jedi Master and Grandmaster has to be mentioned. Shane was a powerful Jedi in her time, and when you rank all Jedi Grand Masters in order, I don't see how anyone can actually leave her off the list or not rank her pretty high. maybe obviously not ahead of Yoda, but I think some people may actually have her kind of comparable in some ways. For starters, she was able to defeat Darth Malak, albeit with some help, and her presence in the Battle of Alderaan turned the tide in that battle. Speaking of battle, she fought using a double-sided lightsaber, which for most Jedi is uncommon. It was believed that she was able to use all 7 forms of lightsaber combat. Shan is like one of those people that when she walks into the room, you already know that stuff is about to get dealt with and handled, which is why I have her on the list. Hey, yo, shout out to the folks though that actually played Star Wars The Old Republic video game. That game helped us get into a deeper lore in Star Wars and introduced us to brand new, Sith and Jedi like Shan here. So, but I have her at number 5. Let's go to the fourth strongest Jedi on my list. And Master Yoda, also known as the Avatar of Light, is number 4 on my list. And I don't think I'll get much pushback on Yoda actually making this list. During his era, he was known to be the strongest Force user and one of the best duelists in the Order, alongside, Jedi masters like Mace Windu, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, to name a few, which obviously shout out to those Jedi, even though I didn't put them on the list. Spoilers for, I guess, ahead in this video. But to get back on track, during fights, Yoda used Form 4, which is an aggressive fighting form with a lightsaber. And in my opinion, I think it might actually be just as aggressive, if you will, as Form 5 in many respects. For Yoda, I don't even have to bring up any of his feats that he had in Legends. But from what we have seen Yoda do on screen, though, his feats are still impressive enough to have him placed here. He was able to push Sidious in battle as far as he was ever pushed. And sorry for any fans that may be listening to episodes 7, 8, and 9. No, I am not going to count Rey defeating him at the end. Like, yeah, just not going to include that. But outside of Force healing that, we've never just seen Yoda utilize, Yoda pretty much had every Force ability a Jedi can use, like deflect Force lightning, that he can actually do with his hands, which is pretty impressive because most Jedi do that with their lightsaber. Force speed and acrobatics, which matches his fighting form, Force push, Force shockwave. Now, I don't think I have to actually continue on about Yoda. I mean, we all know how great he is, and I have him fitting here on the list. At number 3 on my list, the person that I have might bring some controversy, but I'm going to make my case for why I believe that Cade Skywalker should be this high on the list. For anyone listening that does know or who doesn't know who Cade is, just a little background on him. He was born on the planet Ossus, I hope that is how it's pronounced anyway, and was the son of Cole Skywalker and Moff Morgan, who are both descendants of Ben Skywalker, who was the son of Luke and Mara Jade Skywalker. During his life, he held a lot of titles and or jobs, if you will, like Jedi, bounty hunter, a smuggler, amongst others, which lets me know that this guy was having a real identity crisis trying to figure out who he was. But that didn't make Cade any less powerful, though. Some of the crazy feats this guy had was him being able to defeat Darth Krayt, who is one of the strongest Sith Lords in all of Star Wars history. I actually had him on my list of strongest Sith video, and he was able to not only heal himself from the Regal plague, which was said to be incurable, he also cured Azan Ray from the same thing with his Force healing powers. Outside of course, this Force ability, he was a capable lightsaber duelist as well, using Form 4. And besides his Force healing, as I mentioned, he had abilities like Force stealth, mind manipulation, Force fear, telekinesis, Force push, Force choke, and Force barrier. And the list, of course, with K goes on and on and on, but you get the point. K was extremely powerful. Now, with all that said, And the strongest Cade is, I have two other people on my list that are stronger than him. And the next person just happens to be well, if he's a descendant, I guess a force-ended, I don't know, an ancestor of Cade, and that would be Luke Skywalker. So if you've watched any of the latest Star Wars movies, the Luke Skywalker that we got in those is in no way, shape, or form close to how powerful he was in Legends. I mean, not even close. Even when he showed up at the end of The Mandalorian season 2, which was actually pretty cool, a really cool moment in the show, he still is weaker than what most Star Wars fans and super fans know him as, which is Legends Luke. In Legends, Luke was a powerhouse, which makes sense due to his father being Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. Luke used Form 5 Demso, which is also the same form his father uses. And, he can just about use every force ability known in Star Wars universe. He was powerful enough to actually battle against Abeloth, who is a dark side entity so powerful that she cannot be killed. She can only be sealed away, which he actually managed to help do. Luke was also in touch with the Force to such a degree that he was able to walk on lava and was able to shove a Dovin Brassel into another enemy's vessel, which is a pretty insane feat. Oh, by the way, for anyone wondering, about that black hole feat that a lot of people who, try to really, really talk about how strong Luke Skywalker really is, a lot of people actually bring that up, and that actually isn't a feat. Ain't Dovin Brossel, though, it operates like a black hole, but it actually isn't one. And I know there's a lot of disagreements and debate about that in the Star Wars community, but yeah, he never actually manipulated or pushed a black hole. He did this with a Dovin Brossel, which happens to have the same capabilities as a black hole. But even though he did move a black hole, it still doesn't make that feat, though. It doesn't super downplay it, but again, it just downplays the whole God essence thing about what people have Luke. Now, Luke was a highly capable, skilled pilot, one of the best ever, which we actually got to see on display in episode 4 when he destroyed the Death Star. I honestly wanted to put Luke first on the list due to his feats in lore and how I am a fan of Legends Luke, but since one of these things based this list on was them at full power, at their ultimate potential, we already should know who's going to be number one, right? This is the part of the video that I know people are going to be telling me that I have a Skywalker bias. And look, everybody, your fight is with George Lucas, who made them the main part of the story in Star Wars. I mean, what would I be looking like if I actually didn't have the chosen one, number one? I mean, that would be like getting mad because the main character of your favorite show is the one who saves the day or ends up with their happily ever after, which would actually, defeat the whole purpose and plot of the show that you actually like. But having said that, Anakin and his massive potential is the strongest Jedi in all of Star Wars. A feat that puts him in the top, in my opinion, this one episode during the Clone Wars where him, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka went to the altar of Mortis, and he actually had to save Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Well, he was able to control both the light and dark gargoyles, which were servants of the Father. To try and actually paint a picture for anyone that didn't watch the episode or not familiar with that, the reason why this is so insane is the fact that the planet that they were on was connected to both the living and cosmic force in such a way that no other planet outside of where those priestesses were at, that Yoda traveled to, no other planet probably was connected to the force like this one. And those people on the planet was, of course, connected directly to the force, but Anakin was able to use the force to overpower those creatures, if you will, or the light and dark side of the force, who are a representation of the force itself, which shows just how powerful Anakin could actually be. During the many battles of the Clone Wars, he also seemed to be to turn the tide of the battle he was a part of and deemed by many in the war the star of the Clone Wars. Anakin used Form 5, and he was said to be the greatest user of that form in Star Wars history. Before his fall to the dark side, Anakin didn't show many Force abilities that were like otherworldly, like some of the Jedi actually mentioned, before on the list. But at full power, no other Jedi would be on his level. Oh, and he just happened to be the greatest pilot ever in Star Wars history. That's the list. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. But until next time, have a great day. Peace.